In this video, we will demonstrate how to make the proper OI-HPT trunk line and probe connections. First, let's look at the two ends of the trunk line. The end with the varying wire lengths is the down hole or probe end of the cable. The end with the similar wire lengths is the up hole or instrument end. This is the end that's going to be easiest to tape up and thread through the probe rods. Do this always into the female end until the full rod string has been strung. Once complete, we can prepare to connect the opposite end to the probe. First thing we must do though is to feed it through the drive head and connection tube. Notice as I do this, I'm feeding it through the male end of these components. After the trunk line is through the connection tube, we can lay out the parts to connect. I'll bring over the probe and place it at the bottom of the trunk line, and then the power supply will get connected between the trunk line and probe. As I then figure out which connector goes where, keep in mind that they are constructed so that they will only go together one way. You will want to match up the wire colors of the trunk line long length of wire to that on the probe. The other side goes to the power supply. Then, along with an Oetiker clamp, connect the HPT water line to the barb on the power supply. Now take the short wire section from the trunk line, which has a blue line in it, and connect it to the power supply. The last connection is the power supply HPT water line. We'll have an Oetiker clamp on it and join it to the trunk line. Here's that last connection. Now I'm going to show that we need to tape all of the chrome connectors so they don't loosen as the tool is driven into the ground. Now we will secure the Oetiker clamps with a side cutting tool. Pliers will not work for this as you need the narrow cutting edge. Make sure the band is over the union. Seat the tool up against the band and then compress. I will now work to bundle the wires that are coming out of the probe so that the connectors fit below the power supply, and then I'll tape them in place. This is important since if there is overlap of the connectors and the power supply, the connection tube will not fit over this section. I will then go and bundle the wires above the power supply as well and secure them in place. With the wires bundled, I will cover them with a large bore liner. I will need to slice it lengthwise. A carpet blade on a utility knife works well for this. You can cover the wires with other forms of plastic or electrical tape if that's all you have, but you need to cover the wires to protect them from abrading against the connection tube, which will cause issues with logging. After placing it over the wires, we'll need to overlap the long edges and tighten it and place about 4 wraps of electrical tape along the length of the tube to secure it. Next, I will measure 27.5 inches from the shoulder of the probe at the base of the threads and will wrap the trunk line with 8 to 10 wraps of electrical tape. This will serve as a strain relief for the water seal to press against. Finally, we'll be able to slide the connection tube over the wire connections. It should slide over this section very easily and not get stuck. If it does, you'll need to redo the connections to make them smaller. Make sure all the rotation is done with the connection tube. The water seal and water seal spacer are next and will be added behind the connection tube. The taper side of the water seal will go into the back end of the connection tube up against the electrical tape that we had added, and the flats of the water seal spacer go against the water seal. I will add a bit of lubricant, such as Vaseline or soap, on the back of the water seal to allow the spacers to slide along it easily as the drive head is tightened. We'll want to make sure that we tighten the drive head as much as we can with our hands, and we should only have to use a pipe wrench for less than a full turn on both the connection tube and the drive head before it is driven into the ground.